Ooh, we are live. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? If you are new to this space, my name is Jennifer Longmore, founder of souljourneys.ca and the Akashic Record Training School. We are actually the number one training school in the world. We've trained over 100,000 people in over 100 countries. And we are all about all things consciousness. So welcome. If this is your first time, let us know in the chat. We're going to dive right in today and talk about how or what the four things are that your clients are craving right now. And we kind of go through waves, right, of what people are looking for. But right now, what I'm noticing that your clients are looking for, your present clients, your future clients, is, well, the first thing is clarity. So anything that you can offer that allows people to be more clear on what their blocks are potentially. I don't really like to focus on blocks, but let's be honest, people tend to focus on that. That's just kind of a product of living in an inverted world that keeps us perpetually in this feeling of we're not enough, we're too much, we have to be fixed, there's a block, I need to strive for something more, there must be a block getting in the way of that. So regardless of whether that's true, that is what people are looking for. So they're looking to get clear on what's blocking me from getting to my next level. How can I create more of X? How can I create less of what I don't want? And really more, though, clarity of purpose and clarity of what you were coded for during this time. We're all here to play a very particular role during this moment in history. I'm not talking about the entire lifetime that we're here, although that's important. I'm talking about right now. And I know a lot of people are feeling an angst, like, oh, there's got to be something more. What is it that what is it that I'm being called to do right now? Where can I get the clarity of how to really be a contribution right now? I want to make sure that everything I came in here to do is being acted upon. So that is something your clients will always be looking for. Some of you may remember me sharing this many years ago. I was guided to put together, I had so many people coming to me that were unclear, and I pay attention to that stuff, right? And hopefully you do that too in your business when you're noticing that there's some common themes coming through. A lot of times as healers, we're conditioned to believe that, oh, well, that must be me. That must be my blind spot. That must be my trigger. No, oftentimes it's not, right? Like if you attract a bunch of people that have, let's say, cancer in your field, and bless them, because we, of course, don't will that upon anyone, but people in the old paradigm, people are conditioned to believe that, oh, well, that must mean that I have cancer or that I'm going to get cancer if I'm attracting all kinds of people that have cancer. No, it means that you are holding a medicine that is helping them move through whatever it is that they're moving through. And that cancer is the reason that it's the three-dimensional reason that caused them to seek you out, to have the harmonic exchange that you already contracted to have before you got here. So back to my point around clarity, many years ago, I had a bunch of people coming and telling me that they were unclear. I was seeing it on social media. I was seeing it in the Purpose Posse. I was seeing it in just who was reaching out and exploring whether they wanted to seek more clarity. And so when there's that much of a bubble, I pay attention to that stuff. And so anyways, I wrote in the subject line, I put answers to your burning questions. And that was a 75% open rate to my entire list. And that's, typically you're going to have an open rate like that with people that are already in an existing program with you. They're just kind of tagged differently, I guess, right? The algorithms, for lack of a better way of putting it, is a little bit different. But in this case, it was to my entire list. And I sold those mini packages out. I was guided to create these mini packages. That was actually the birth of mini packages in my business, because at the time I was semi-retired. I was doing a lot of TV and I was preparing to do a big TV show, and I didn't want to commit to any 6 or 12-month containers, not because I didn't want to commit, but because I didn't think it was fair, because I didn't know if I could honor my commitments, and I really don't like having to reschedule calls all the time on people. So I created these mini packages, but I was paying attention to, well, what are people looking for? And they were looking for clarity. And that's why that subject line compelled so many people to open, because that will always be something that you can offer. But particularly right now, people are feeling some existential angst. They're feeling that their purpose, that there's a deeper layer to their purpose that they're trying to uncover. So anything that you can put together, whether it's a mini package, whether it's a one-on-one offer, whether it's a one-time session. I'm not a big fan of those, but depends on your business model. And maybe you have a group program, maybe you have a digital program that helps people. But what can you offer that allows people to get more clarity, and how can you market that? Are you going to do that on a Facebook Live, Instagram Live, TikTok video, YouTube? I don't know. Where are you going to give people more backstory and help people understand a little bit more about why they're unclear and how they can get more clear, right? And then leading people into your offer. So that's the first thing that people are craving right now is clarity on all kinds of things, even relationships, right? We've had a lot of ups and downs over the last 2 years, particularly. Some relationship gaps have become pretty apparent, and some people have repaired those and some people have not. So there's a lot of clarity people are seeking in relationships, social circles, etc., etc. So it's always a great thing to offer, but particularly right now, that's what people are looking for. And if you're noticing that, by the way, let me know in the chat, because I want to get a pulse on how many of us are really noticing that. The second piece, which is kind of related to that, is direction, right? People are feeling like they're basing all of their decisions, literally all of their decisions, on what's happening on the world stage. Now, prior to 2020, we weren't really paying attention to that. We kind of knew, some of us knew for decades, right, that this was coming. We didn't quite know when, and we also were kind of thinking, oh, hopefully this is just some theories that are out there, and hopefully this doesn't come true. So when it came true, it was like, oh, okay, time to pay attention. But up until 2020, I just went on living my life because nobody was restricting me from doing that. So I was able to create my life in spite of knowing who really runs the world and what's really going on, because I didn't have that physical restriction, and nor did you, of course. So up until 2020, we are very used to living in an inverted world, knowing who's running the world, and still deciding what we want, and then having our vision and our life and our actions calibrate to the direction that we're choosing to go, irrespective of what's happening on the world stage. But they have done such a good job at getting us fixated on this 24/7 reality show, right? They've conditioned us to be leaning into reality shows from the time of O.J. Simpson right up until now. And I can unpack all of that another time for you. But for right now, we are so used to reality TV and immersing ourselves in reality TV that when they told us to enjoy the show, they really meant it. Although it's not enjoyable, I get that. But in their mind it is, right? They're getting great enjoyment out of constantly hijacking our consciousness and trying to get us fixated, obsessed, immersed, gripped by this 24-hour circus act that's on the world stage. And it doesn't mean there aren't bad things happening. It just means that we need to shift our focus from what's happening on the world stage, being mindful of it, of course, being aware of it, and especially as it may directly impact you by way of, some sort of natural disaster coming or some sort of conflict in your area, various things like that. But we can still create direction for our vision, for our life, for our purpose, irrespective of what's happening on the world stage. It's just that we are under a significant pressure cooker right now. We don't necessarily know how to do that. And so we get to decide right now who's running the show. Are we in the driver's seat or are we in the passenger seat? And a lot of people are feeling that way. A lot of people are needing direction, in part because there's such a leadership deficit. I've talked about this at the beginning of 2020. Well, I shouldn't say at the beginning of 2020. At the beginning of all of these shenanigans and this big shit show, basically, that's been launched on the world stage. We were pretty clear on what we wanted to do. But even then, there was a lot of people that were in the online space, for example, professing that they were a leader and really happily positioning themselves in a certain way. And then all of this went down and there was radio silence. Very few people rose to the occasion and really showed up for their communities, right? Because it's one thing to lead and be a model for what's possible to make money in the business world. It's another thing to go, oh, times are tough. How am I showing up for my community? And a lot of people weren't, right? And community is already essential to a business. After 2020 and with everything going on in the Great Awakening, community is just going to be a part of this 5D reality that we're creating. It's important for us to focus on how can we be a contribution to our community. Sadly, even just scientifically, so to speak, most people they're just not able to lead themselves. They're not wired that way. So they're happy to follow direction, but they're not able to access that. They literally don't know how to get clear on their direction and then lead themselves. So anything that you can offer, one-on-one, group programs, etc., as I mentioned, that's going to help people get clear on their direction and then create an action plan towards that, that's really helpful. This is why we're in this situation in the world that we are, right? People are happy to be told what to do. So whoever is telling them what to do, they're going to listen. You can look up the stats on this, right? Most people not only don't know how to lead themselves, but even if they do, they're not willing to lead themselves. They're willing to, because again, this is a byproduct of an inverted world that has conditioned us to abdicate our authority, our knowingness, and so on to a higher power. This is why we are conditioned to look for saviors. This is why we're conditioned to worship. This is how religion was brought onto this planet, to hijack our consciousness. And every religion, as we know, is infiltrated. So there's multiple things that are coming at us that cause us to abdicate our knowingness, to abdicate our decision making. And that's not going to change, sadly, unless more and more of us step up and continue to transmute the illusions, bring awareness to how this world really works, and to support people in getting out of their arrested development. Most people are at, I would say, age 3 to 4 right now, but there are a lot of people that are in late stage adolescence. Nothing wrong with that. I was there too, right? The Great Awakening kind of forced us all to go, oh my God, there really isn't anyone coming to save the day. We've got to step up. But a lot of people are still there. And like I said, it's not to blame them, judge them, etc. Just to understand that this is something we're going to be bumping up against for a while. And so how can we personally look at transmuting a lot of those energies, but how can we provide direction to people that are willing to be led in a different direction, and ideally the direction of the 5D timeline, but they need someone to link arms with in order to do that. And keep in mind too, we're being bombarded with all kinds of interference, all kinds of frequency attacks and so on, in order to keep us confused, right? If we look at how 2020 unfolded, it was a total shock and awe, psychological, military grade level of shock and awe, right? They just kept bombarding us with things, catching us off guard, destabilizing us. So people are still in the trauma of that. They're having a hard time landing, right? And getting both feet grounded and really getting clear on their direction. So there's probably some trauma work and stuff that needs to be done as well. But anyways, that's what people are looking for right now too. We are in Aries season, right? So we're going to be getting a fire under our butt. We're going to want some direction. But if people aren't clear, they're going to get restless. They're going to turn that internally. They're going to be frustrated and so on, because they don't know how to move that energy. So the third thing that people are looking for, as I kind of alluded to, is healing trauma. We're having more and more conversation about trauma. Some people are actually qualified to help you deal with trauma, and some people are not. I don't mean that you're dealing with that. I'm saying if you can offer that to your community, and I don't get to dictate, of course, whether you're qualified or not. I'm just going to let you know, it's my personal opinion, that unless you have some sort of really intense formal education like I do, like Dr. Robin does, who's an expert in the Purpose Posse, and several other people, or you have extensive experience doing energy work with people, you have training in hypnosis or things like that, it's a bit dicey to get into that if you don't have formal training and the experience, of course, to match that. But people are becoming more and more aware that their ability to manifest is tied into trauma. Their ability to make more money is tied into trauma. Their ability to grow their business is tied into trauma. Their ability to release weight is tied into trauma. And all kinds of things are tied into that. This is a world that is constantly poking at our trauma buttons, but also creating more trauma. Again, that's something we can unpack at another time. But for now, knowing and understanding that this, in a lot of ways, has been the missing link for people. And oftentimes we can make people wrong for how come they're not growing. And sometimes their unconscious choice to stay safe and secure is greater than their need for the thing that they genuinely want. They don't know why they're holding themselves back. A lot of times it is related to trauma. I'm going to share with you in a little bit how I can support you with that if that's something that actually speaks to you and you're ready to get out there and take your business to the next level, but there's something happening. The fourth thing people are looking for, which goes without saying, is any support related to ascension, any activations, any ability to help people move through ascension symptoms, right? Because the Lord knows there's a lot of them, how to navigate what's happening on the world stage, how to calibrate their body to rise up to this next level that they've taken themselves to. What does it really mean to align to your highest timeline? What does it really mean to ascend? And what are unexpected things that people don't talk about with ascension? Like, for example, if we want to ascend and we want to fly high, we like that idea of flying high and floating and not being burdened, so to speak, with all of these tentacles from this 3D world. But we have no choice but to look at that stuff. It doesn't mean we have to marinate in it, but we definitely need to transmute that, because the illusions create the density that hold the plane back from flying as high as it can, right? So, so people, not everyone knows how to really, really navigate that. Oh, Elise is here. Hi, Elise. Yeah, Elise is also very qualified, by the way, to deal with trauma. So I would recommend you seek Elise out if that's something that speaks to you. So to recap, there's four main things that your clients are craving right now, whether they even know it or not. But if you articulated it to them through an offer that really spoke to them, they would jump all over it because some part of them is really looking for it. So again, they're looking for clarity, they're looking for direction, they're looking to heal the trauma, and they're looking for support with ascension. And that's all of us, right? So if you're someone that is feeling like, yes, I really need to know what I'm coded for. I really, really need to sink into the depths of what I'm coded for to then really be able to share that, to reverberate that, to exponentialize that out into the world, out into my community, and allow that energy to do the heavy lifting, right? To take your business to the next level, to allow you to make more money and so on. I was guided last week to offer these mini packages, which I haven't done for a really long time, and that is to raise your frequency quite high. To because when your frequency is really high, we're talking about like significant ascension energies. This isn't for people that are new to energy work. This is for people that are very experienced with energy work. It's about calibrating you to that highest timeline, but activating certain frequency codes. They're actual frequencies that we need to turn the dial on, right? So that your body can calibrate with you, your money, your business, and so on. We can get really clear on what you're coded for. And then when you're vibrating at that level, there's just some things that were already not serving you that can't resonate anymore. They're going to be so dissonant that they just fall away, and peacefully, right? No need for a healing crisis and so on. And then everything that does, that is a vibrational match for those new codes is going to show up. And I know if you have a growth mindset and you consider yourself a leader, I already know that you're highly committed to wanting to know what you're coded for and not wanting to miss a single link. You don't want to leave a single puzzle piece behind, right? You want to be able to solve that puzzle and feel like you are so unbelievably clear on what you're coded for, and then have the activations and the energy and the calibration to match that so that you can really put yourself out there in your community. So if that's something that speaks to you, then let me know in the chat and I will come back and we'll have a little bit of an exchange in the messenger or wherever we're going to communicate on what that can look like. It is a high 4-figure investment to work with me. It's 5 sessions because we need 5 sessions in order to go through the process. And there's all kinds of things involved in that, Voxer support and so on. So if that speaks to you, then let me know in the thread or private message me and I will come back to you. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you're seeing these trends as well. If you're seeing any other trends that you see clients looking for right now, feel free to chime in the comments as well. We'd love to hear from you. I hope this was helpful and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.